All right, let's go. Happy Thursday. It's time for Taking It Back. And as always, with Zach Payne, Red Pill 78. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. How was your holiday?
So far so good. What holiday?
I mean, we haven't seen each other since before Thanksgiving, I don't think.
Has it been that long? Did we not do a
Yeah.
show after Thanksgiving?
I don't
Damn.
know, maybe we did, but it doesn't seem like it.
I don't know, man. Yeah, time flies
Yeah,
and
this is the second week of December.
yeah.
Last week, the first week, you were sick, and
Yeah.
the week before that was Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it has been a while. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my holiday was awesome. I mean, it was very low key. I just hung out with my parents, my brother and his family too for a little bit. Didn't even do a turkey dinner, honestly. We threw steaks on the grill and um yeah, just had like a good steak dinner. It was enjoyable. How about yours?
It was good. Lisa and I just here at the house. We also did steak. We did surf and turf actually. So
Ooh.
I got some crab legs, some king crab legs from
Mm.
Publix, and cooked those up. We actually had more than we could even eat. Like I got like a pound of like snow crab claws too, just to like throw in the mix, and it was too much. Like Lisa, like I made it. She was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll do a surf and turf," and then I made it, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't like crab." I was like, oh God. I mean, I love crab, but there's only so much you can eat.
Yeah, no. Did you overeat? Because I swore this year I wasn't going to. I'm like, all right, there's no stuffing, no mashed potatoes. Like, it's not like your typical turkey dinner. I'll control myself this time. And I still felt like I destroyed myself on Thanksgiving.
No, I definitely didn't overeat. We had like, the proper dinner. I did make homemade stuffing. I made homemade mashed potatoes and, I ate one plate and my crab. And then later on in the day, we went back for seconds. I mean, like there's no way not to. But I was not feeling like, like the Monopoly man or like, the typical robber barons from the golden age. Definitely wasn't me.
Yeah, well, that makes one of us, I guess. But anyway, man, yeah, it's great to be back with you and do another taking it back here. Those of you guys watching on Rumble, especially those of you on Badlands Media, if you guys don't mind giving us a thumbs up over there. To the fam over on pill.net, hit that red pill button and repost the show. And wherever you guys are watching, we always do appreciate it when you share the link out there wherever you can. Zach, there's like a few different places I was thinking we could start today.
Okay.
I had some like random little things, some bigger things, and I guess because I haven't covered this at all yet, what in the world is going on with these drones in New Jersey? Man, I've completely avoided this story on my own show because I have no idea what to even think or say about these. Like Tucker Carlson says they're demonic spirits from the interdimensional world. You have Jeff Van Drew on with Harrison Faulkner the other day saying that they're a mothership from Iran pulled up near the East Coast, and these things are apparently like the size of an SUV. And they're just flying all over the sky. Now I'm hearing that state government has says that they operate on a different frequency than they don't know how to like detect. And I guess there was another guy, like a civilian, who tried to fly up his own drone to get a better look. And whatever's up there immediately drained his battery down to zero from a full
Yeah.
charge, like within minutes. So what in the world is going on? Please tell me you have all the answers for me, Zach.
Yeah, I do have quite a few thoughts.
Okay.
So, I've been following this for a couple of weeks. Like the first time I heard about it was when the FAA grounded all drone traffic over Bedminster.
Hmm.
And that was like mid-November. And I saw that and I was like, well, that's interesting. So that probably means that people were flying drones over Bedminster. And the first thing I actually thought was that Iranian drone attack video that they produced showing President Trump getting, like Soleimani'd while playing golf at Bedminster. And I was like, okay, well, let's see, because there have been a number of reports of foreign nationals in recent years, like flying drones over sensitive areas. And actually, a couple of months ago, there was another story about something very similar to what people are seeing right now over Picatinny Arsenal, which is in New Jersey, and then another base, which is over there on the East Coast as well, I think closer to Chesapeake Bay. And so I was like, well, this could be something interesting. So the FAA announcement didn't say anything about the sightings that people were having. But then I started looking into it, and you had all of these videos of people in like three different counties in New Jersey, and they were seeing things that were just, not traditional, shall we say. Um, and they were basically kind of freaking out and saying, nobody has any answers for us, and the police don't know what's going on, and it seems to be totally anomalous. Um, so then I started thinking about the changing narrative on UFOs, UAPs over the last couple of years. And I was really interested to see what the federal government would have to say. They were pretty much involved from the very beginning. We're talking like DHS, counterterrorism units, FBI, obviously New Jersey State Police, local PD, county PD, major law enforcement presence and, just, I guess, partnership in this investigation. But they kept not giving any information and like really nothing of substance and nothing useful that people could rely on. It was pretty much over and over again. We have no idea what these things are, and we don't know what to tell you. And I find that to be total bullshit. Okay. Like, I do not believe that with our technology, either what is disclosed or what's likely in the hands of government officials, that they have no idea. The UAP phenomenon is not new. In the last couple of years, it seems like the Department of Defense and the federal government has bent over backwards to maintain the idea of the UAP in the minds of Americans, never giving any answers, but just simply seeding a narrative like these are here, it's coming, and before you know it, we're going to have first contact. And I think that quite literally, there are a couple of different possibilities this could be. I've seen a number of reports from military people who are like, these are ours, like 100%. This is our technology. It's not disclosed to the public. They're used for sniffing out of radiological, biological, chemical, or other such contaminants. And if they're all over New Jersey, then there must be some credible intelligence to suggest that something is going to be released. That would absolutely track with deep state efforts to hamper Donald Trump's incoming administration. There was a dirty bomb that went off in New Jersey, or there was an attack on Bedminster, some type of false flag, then obviously, it would make sense that these things are up there. In terms of the military aspect of it, if they don't really want us to know that they exist, then they can just call them UAPs, pretend that they're something that's not ours. The Pentagon actually made a comment yesterday that these are not hostile nations that are sending them up. They're not commercial drones. They're not U.S. drones. And we have no idea. So, I mean, really, what does that leave? That they're insinuating that they're alien, right? And if aliens just happen to show up right before Donald Trump's inauguration, or if there was some false flag right before Trump's inauguration, then clearly that would change the direction of the administration. It would force them to focus on, one thing or the other. Much in the same way they just deposed Bashar al-Assad out of nowhere. And now, like, Syria is going to be a quagmire. I mean, they're killing people in the streets. They're rounding up Christians. They're just, they're implementing Sharia law. We've got, former Al-Qaeda, ISIS fighters that are now the de facto rulers of Syria. Israel gets to retake the Golan Heights. Lots of people are very happy about this, but I don't think it's going to be very good for the world. And it's certainly going to put a dent in Donald Trump's peace through strength plan. I mean, it's going to require that we have some sort of presence in Syria. So the military-industrial complex, they get their wish list of continuing to shill armaments and weapons and Abrams and the new Humvees and all that shit. So, the only people who don't win are the Syrian people and the American people. Now, what's really funny to me also with Syria is that you don't see any Syrian refugees heading back to Syria. Like no one is on their way back there. And that's because it's a total shit show. Everybody knows. You see all these people celebrating the downfall of Bashar al-Assad. But like, it's going to be like Iraq, Adil. I mean, Saddam Hussein might've been a tyrant, but at least he had a stable government, right? You know, I mean, like, and now Syria is going to be just like totally out of whack, and we're going to have an ISIS
Well,
controlled nation.
let me ask you, I guess, this. Why do I care about whether Syria is controlled by ISIS or not? Like, as a
Oh, because
citizen of this country, like if we secure our border, deport the dangerous people out of this country, and we're in good shape over here, why do I really give a shit about what Syria is doing? Like explain that to me
I
because
will.
I
I will.
I think I get what you're saying, like as far as the military industrial complex, but like is that really even our problem?
It is. You know, go back to Obama's administration.
Mm-hmm.
It was the CIA that created ISIS. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the moderate Islamic rebels, ISIL, became ISIS. Okay, so what we have there in Syria is a massive destabilization of the peace and order of the Middle East, which already was not very good. So now you have essentially a CIA controlled nation hand in hand with the worst of the radical Islamic world. And they're going to now have a major base and proving ground to export false flags and attacks all around the world. Okay. So, you know, think about how North Korea previously was controlled. Now it kind of
Mm-hmm.
looks like South Korea is the one actually that's controlled. Um, Anytime the CIA has control over a nation like that, they're going to use it to their benefit to destabilize the parts of the world that are trying to, you know, bring about peace and prosperity. So, look, Donald Trump was able to take out ISIS pretty quickly in his first term in office. Maybe that's all it's going to take. But if it takes any more than that, then it's going to result in a major shift in his administration to focus on wartime tactics, right? Rather than focusing on creating that golden age that you're talking about. Right now, the world is already kind of self-sorting. All right, you know, we have Ukraine and Russia. They're coming to the peace table. You know, obviously now Israel is kind of winding down the efforts related to Hamas and the Palestinians because Iran is weakened. They've already spent a bunch of money, but the Biden regime just gave them an extra $10 billion, which means that more fighting can happen in between Israel and Palestine. But you know that disputed area of the Golan Heights, Israel has wanted to retake that for a very long time. And so that's going to cause another rift between Israel and the Islamic world. They're not going to like that. Israel's going to love it. And they would rather just, you know, maintain it as sort of a demilitarized zone between ISIS and Israel. And of course, because there are so many problems taking place in Syria, that gives Israel more of an argument to ask for foreign aid and to ask for support from the United States. So, you know, I mean, and, you know, they always say Israel is our number one ally. So, I mean, how are you going to stop? How are you going to talk Congress out of not giving Israel aid? Okay, great. So we shut off the pipeline to Ukraine, but now, oh my God, we've got more trouble happening in a different part of the world. So now we're going to have to deal with this. I would sincerely hope that when the new administration comes in, they stick to their guns and they do shut off the pipelines of money, all foreign aid going around the world. You know, I'm speaking from a perspective of, you know, the federal government as it exists right now. These are the things that they're trying to set up to make it more difficult for us and Donald Trump to achieve that golden age once he comes into office. Not saying that's going to be successful, but I want him to be able to hit the ground running and to start doing the things that matter and not have to focus on the things that would traditionally be mattered in a administration such as this, you know, as it does to Joe Biden right now. Um, but when it comes to these drones, I think that they want people to think it's aliens. It could be us. It could be aliens. Who the hell knows? But I don't think the military has no idea.
Yeah, I find that extremely hard to believe that these things are flying in, over our airspace. We have no idea what they are. I mean, you would if that was really the case, they would shoot one down and figure it out. You know what I
No,
mean? Like they
no,
would.
but the fact that they say they can't shoot them down, they just disappear, Adel, and you can't see them on infrared. And when you get near them, your batteries shut down. I mean, it's like they're creating this mystique around them. Like theoretically, they should totally be able to shoot them down. And think about, I mean, they've already admitted before, like, oh yeah, we've got downed craft. You know, we've totally done this before. What's different now? It's the will to act.
Yeah, it doesn't smell right to me, and the timing of it coming, 40 days roughly before Donald Trump is about to come into office, and has all these wonderful plans to downsize the federal government and
Yeah.
kind of reform all of these major institutions. It seemed very, very much contrived.
Too
To
convenient.
Yeah, too convenient, and yeah, I don't believe for a second. I did see on Joe Rogan, I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he was talking about how far behind the United States is with their drone program compared to China, like what China's capable versus what we're capable of, at least on from a public standpoint. And it was kind of interesting to hear. Although again, I don't, that's what we're told. You know,
Mhm.
I I don't believe for a second that we have any idea the actual technological capabilities of what our military and government has, like as far as what technologies they keep from the general public and how many years of a gap do you think it is, or do they say it is between like when something's developed, underground, and then we finally get to
Oh,
experience it? Like, it's like what, 25, 50 years or something, like something
I would,
crazy like that?
yeah, I'd say between 30 and 50 years, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
they want to fully exhaust its military and usefulness basically before they roll it out to civilian populations. Like fiber optics. I mean those became like commercially available in like the 60s, but like we had them in the 40s. You
right.
know, so
Yeah.
yeah, and they're the
Yeah.
same with everything, man. They're not going to let us get too far ahead. Now, I think that's going to change. I'm hoping that that's going to change. Um, but still, I mean, there is a stranglehold on the United States from within the military and the intel community, and not like rank and file military, but like the military industrial
Mhm.
complex, and cutting off that pipeline of money to these places is essential to being able to do it. Have you seen what's going on in with Malay in Argentina? I mean, like he has them out of deficit for the first time in like 125 years. And
Mhm.
beginning next year, he's cutting taxes by 90 fucking percent. Like, if Argentina can do it, we can totally do it. And they're totally working on the Malay model.
I can't wait. I think I truly believe that Donald Trump is going to eliminate federal income tax, maybe the Federal Reserve and the whole fiat currency scam from this country once and for all, man. It sounds like a pipe dream. It doesn't feel like it could be real, but I saw that too in Argentina. And you've heard Donald Trump talk about replacing income tax with tariffs.
Yeah.
And you really you look around at why why it hasn't been done yet or why people don't think it could be done. But how much money does the federal government spend every year? It's like what, $6.5 trillion in
Yes.
federal government. Yeah, it's insane. And you
And they
think
can't
about,
track most of it. They
well,
don't know where most of it goes.
and this is that was exactly where I was going. Like if you look at just what's trackable, it's far less than that. There's so much opportunity to spend less, and that doesn't even you don't even consider how much of a bath we take on trade with every partner we have out there. So you clean up your trade deals, you start exporting American energy, and you let Doge go in there and actually bring some accountability and transparency to government spending, cutting the fat. I mean, you could make serious dent into that national deficit very quickly,
Yes.
with just some very basic things, and you don't even really need to tax the American people to do it.
No.
The whole new. I feel like we're on the precipice of like many new paradigms, but the income tax, and the financial, the economic ones
It's
are the
huge.
ones I'm most excited. Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
the opportunities that's going to give the American people to actually prosper. I think it'll do wonderful things, as far as like promoting the nuclear family,
Hmm.
allowing people to have single family income that will support, the whole family, allow one of the parents to be home with the kids more often, more invested in their education, just like the domino effect of these things, and how, one leads to another leads to another. I guess that's why, he talks about it like an American Renaissance, because these are the kind of things that really reset the trajectory of the entire culture and society. It's
100%. And bringing all of these companies back to the United States is going to be huge too. I mean, the creation of jobs, I mean, the ability for us to finally get ahead, to be able to not only support ourselves and scrape by, but to be able to thrive.
hmm
I mean, think about, people thrive and they're going to reinvest that money into America. And you mentioned the exportation of American energy. Hell, I would love to see American energy being used here in America. One of the problems is one of the reasons we have to export that energy and then import oil from other nations is because we have a different type of oil than we did when we first started tapping into the ground and getting that sweet light crude. So we don't have the refinery capabilities to be able to refine and then use the oil that we have here in the United States that we're pumping out right now, that we're getting from like fracking and shale and like coal sands and stuff. So that's why it has to be sent out of the country, and then we have to pay to have other stuff sent in here. I mean, think about how much cheaper energy could be if we just cut the red tape. I mean, companies are not building these refineries because they believe, rightfully so, that the government is antagonistic towards fossil fuels, we'll call them, but I mean, traditional energy sources. And they don't want to spend $1 billion to build a refinery here if it's going to get shut down in 5 years and they never make their money back. I mean, they're companies that are trying to make a profit, and I'm not saying they don't, but they want to make as much money as they possibly can. So, it's a trade off. I mean, you're going to pay a couple extra dollars for a barrel of oil because you're getting it brought in from some other country. You're going to be exporting your natural gas because somebody else wants it. You're exporting the oil that we're pumping out here, and then they go ahead and refine it, and then maybe they sell it back to us. I mean, like, it's totally ridiculous. This way we can have jobs here in America, reliable jobs, and not just in the energy sector, but I mean all across the board. I mean, there's the possibilities are quite literally limitless.
I would love to know what it would cost to build a couple of these refineries in strategic locations, where you could do the drilling and whatnot. I'd really love to know what the dollar number is, because you said $1 billion. I'm guessing you just kind of threw that number out there.
I did, yeah.
But okay, let's say it was $20 billion, which seems completely excessive to me, but I
Well,
know less. I know less than nothing, right? I
get rid of the regulatory hurdles, get rid of the EPA, everything they're doing, because I mean they force people to do all of these impact studies and these site studies, and then I'm sure you heard Donald Trump talking about this. I mean, he said, something goes wrong, and then you've got these middlemen that come in and they're like, oh, no, 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 you have to start all over again. So then you got to hire people to do new plans, and then you got to re-pour concrete, and it's just totally freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. The regulatory red tape, the bureaucratic red tape has been weaponized against any kind of real progress, and anyway. But I guess my point is like all the money we mindlessly send overseas, like Ukraine war, Israel, all the like I wouldn't even care if we subsidized one of these plants on behalf of the oil companies, like with taxpayer dollars at this point. The amount of, like I said, it can't, it'd be a fraction of what we spend in other places and get
Yeah.
absolutely zero return on our investment whatsoever. Like the fact that we have such a valuable resource right under our feet, and have not found a way to leverage that on behalf of the American people, to help make their day-to-day lives more affordable is insane, right? It just shows the
Yeah.
complete dereliction of duty that our government has had, for so long. Like
Well,
$200 billion to Ukraine. You're telling me you couldn't take 10% of that and go energy independent, build all the facilities you need, and then the money you'd make, you could send a percentage of that over to Ukraine, and probably end up making it'd be more, for fuck's sakes. It's so wild to me, dude.
well, the thing about it is that there is a return on that money. It's just not a return for us. It's not a
True.
return for America. It's a
True.
return for the bureaucrats. You know, if 50% of that money is coming back and finding its way into the pockets of Democrat congressmen or people working in these regulatory bodies, you know, of course, I mean, they're everybody's skimming. You know, we live in a culture of corruption, and the culture is so endemic and it's baked in, and everybody is grifting. Not everybody, but you know, I mean, it's enough that we need to get rid of 75% of the federal government. You know, I mean, that much is totally wasted. And when you do that and you only keep people employed to do what is absolutely necessary, you know, it's going to cause opportunity at the state level. I'm certain that states are probably going to end up taking on, you know, different things that the federal government has not done well. You know, we're also going to no longer be funding censorship agencies. I mean, that's going to be huge. And yeah, the money needs to go back into the people. The money needs to go back into the infrastructure of the country. Like you said, I would have no problem if the United States government wanted to build an oil refinery. Like, you know, let's have it as a strategic reserve. You know, let's go ahead and pump and refine our own oil. All right, and by doing so, the oil companies would have an incentive to go ahead and do the exact same thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it gonna work, Zach? Like this Department of Government Efficiency, like they'll go in, I'm sure they'll audit, they'll comb, I'm sure they'll find and identify, tremendous amounts of fat and redundancy and inefficient processes and all kind of different um issues. But how do you legally go about either defunding or fire like can Donald Trump just fire as many people out of the executive branch as he want? Is there any protections stopping him from unilaterally doing that? And as far as even just funding these places, like the executive branch doesn't control the budget, Congress does. Congress is still filled with Marxist rhinos and scumbags that are still going to want their treats and handouts. So I guess how do you stop? Because you could veto the budgeting bills, I guess, to a point. We've already seen him try to do that once back in his first term, and then the Senate came together and had a veto-proof majority. But how do you actually save that money? Like I understand the goal, but I guess I don't understand the logistics behind it. Do you have any
I
idea how that would work?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a very specific methodology. So up until the mid to late 70s, the president had something called the power of impoundment.
Hmm.
He could specifically line item veto things on the budget and say, we're not going to spend this because we don't have the money or it doesn't make any sense. Congress took that away, and they now have total power of the purse. Now, the president has the ability to veto bills and such.
Hmm.
But the government, so if that goes back to the president, and now that we control the House and the Senate, there is a realistic possibility that they could actually do that. I think that that would probably be job one. And then beyond that, the government expands in two ways. You have positions and agencies that are created by executive authority, which means they are created by the president. And then you have the same that are created by acts of Congress. Anything that has ever been created through executive authority could immediately be completely removed by the president. So he could come in on day one. And I mean, he's already said that with the Department of Education, everybody's getting fired. Linda McMahon and her assistant are basically going to be the only people working there as the Secretary of Education. But anything created in that way, he could totally just get rid of on day one with an executive action. And then in terms of agencies and funding for various programs created by Congress. There is currently a set of bills in the House and the Senate that I forgot her name, but she's a totally based. Hold on, I actually have it here. She is Marsha Blackburn. So Marsha Blackburn in the Senate and Claudia Tenney in the House. They have a couple of bills set up to specifically address this through the work that they're doing with Doge. They also have a Doge caucus in the House and they have a Doge caucus in the Senate. They have Doge committees that they have just formed, and those committees and the caucus will be working specifically to identify things congressionally that need to be removed and that they can just get rid of. Joni Ernst also has been working on this on her own for years. Rand Paul also has been working this on this on his own for years. So you have a number of different places that you can start and that you can start working at. But because Doge is essentially like a committee, they're going to be empowered to essentially go do those line item checks and do the audits and figure out, what they recommend should be cut and what should be removed. Because we control the House and the Senate, we have a real opportunity to take those recommendations and implement them. But I think that the largest cuts and removals from the federal bureaucracy that you're going to see at the outset is going to be President Trump coming in and just cutting the fat in as many ways as he possibly can. There are going to be some people in Congress who are not going to like this, because undoubtedly it means that there's going to be fewer appropriations for them. There are going to be people who are going to, lose their jobs. But you don't have 8% of the federal workforce even showing up to do their jobs right now. It's a giant sucking sound in the swamp, and it's just, swallowing up dollars as we speak. So they've already said that they're going to prepare like a severance package, 2 years basically, send people out the door, give them their check, and then they'll basically have the next 2 years to either help the country get to the point where we have transformed the economy and brought all these jobs back. Maybe, find a job in the private sector that's going to agree with you. Or you can just go on a 2-year vacation and then look for a job when you come back. But the important thing is they're not going to send anybody packing without giving them some sort of a cushion. Because, there are going to be people that lose their jobs and there's just no way around it. But if they're not performing an essential function in the federal government, do they deserve a job? I don't care how good of a person they are. I mean, every single person who works at the federal government knows whether or not the government would continue to hum along if they weren't there collecting a check. There's a lot of good people who work in the federal government, but there's a lot of good people who are collecting way too much money to do absolutely fuck all. And I just don't agree with that. Look, it's completely different from what you see out here in the private sector. Like, we have to prove ourselves. We have to work on metrics, right? The American people have to show up to work. They have to grind 40 hours a week if they're lucky, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week for many people just to scrape by. These people working in the federal government oftentimes are doing it from the luxury of their homes. They don't really have anybody checking their work. They're members of a union, and so they're totally protected. They've also got to change that. They need to go back to a system of progression based upon some foundational check of how they're doing their jobs. Think about Office Space. There was a meme about that with Vivek and Elon. What is it you do here? And, can you explain your job to me and explain how the American people benefit from this? Right now it's a system based upon nepotism and diversity. Okay. And that is the last thing you want in a government. It's not going to be working properly. It's not going to be humming along. It's just a lot of people taking advantage of the parents not being home. Think about how many times you maybe stayed over at a friend's house and you knew their parents were going to be gone, and you knew that your parents didn't know that your friend's parents were going to be gone. And what did that mean? That mean that you were going to go over there and you were going to screw around, and maybe you were going to go hang out with some girls. Maybe you were going to smoke some weed. Maybe you were going to stay out way too late, longer than your parents would normally allow you to. You try to get away with everything you can because you know that you can, okay? Think about the federal government being a bunch of horny 16-year-olds lining their pockets with your money.
Well, that's just the thing too, is because I've had this conversation with some people, and that don't see eye to eye with me, and they're like, "Oh, so you just want all these people to lose their jobs?" And it's like, well, it's not that I want them to lose their jobs, but these aren't jobs that produce
Mm,
anything. I mean, they're literally resource draining jobs that are off of our work. So if they're not providing, like you said, something that's absolutely essential, then yeah, like why would you want to pay somebody out of your pocket that's not producing? In fact, many of them, their job is to make it harder for actual people that want to create something of value and opportunity for the American people. A lot of their
exactly.
job is to get in their way and make that harder too. So not only are they draining resources on this end, but they're stopping a lot of, really great people from creating jobs that actually produce as opposed to siphon away. And I have no look, you want to give them a severance package, fine. You want to kind of find a
That's
way to
generous.
yeah, exactly. Like if you want to find a way to be a nice guy about doing what's necessary, fine, whatever. But it's got to be done. I mean, the United States federal government should not be the largest employer in the country. And right now,
Exactly.
yeah, and
Exactly. Think about the contraction of the US economy in our
yeah,
lifetime. Think about
yeah,
how many people have lost their jobs. And that hasn't happened at the federal level. Okay. I mean, they're just, more and more and more. And if you're lucky enough to get a federal job, people know that they can do that for the rest of their lives and they don't really have to prove themselves.
hmm
Meanwhile, everybody else out here in the regular economy is showing up to work every day, just praying that they're still going to be relevant, praying that their industry doesn't get sucked off to Mexico or China or something like that, and praying that the mid-level executives like Brian Thompson from United Healthcare isn't going to see fit to make sure that they become redundant so that he can maintain his $10 million a year salary and get his bonuses for the proper profit that they're going to be making. I
hmm
mean, people at the federal level don't have to ever deal with that, but we
No,
do. Like
no,
they're so removed from what real life is like. And I'm sorry if people are going to lose their jobs, but it's happened to all of us. Get over it.
yeah, and think about too, like it's all based out of DC, which is so you're getting you're getting this like ideological groupthink mindset across the organizations as well, right? Like because it's all based out of one of those liberal areas in the country. So not only is it just blowing up and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's become its own like unelected monster that
Yeah.
has a political ideology and it takes on a life of its own that really can't be controlled or dealt with other than just to kill it,
Yeah.
unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever. But it's the whole thing has become completely toxic to our economy, our ability to create opportunities, like really dive into our entrepreneurial spirit and create, innovate and prosper. I'm so excited that this is going to be one of the main agenda items for this incoming administration is to
Me too.
finally bring this monster to heel and get it down to the bare. I mean, it really needs to just be ripped down to the very bare bones. Like, what is the absolute minimum amount of manpower we can employ to make this government function and
Yeah.
not a single person more. Like that's always should be the goal.
Agreed.
And yeah,
Agreed. DC is 90% Democrat. Okay. So essentially, we are forever paying for our own demise. All right. I mean, they don't agree with us. They don't respect us. They don't see us as equals. They think they know better than us. I mean, look at every single OMG or Project Veritas release that has cracked into the federal bureaucracy. Those people are perfectly fine destroying America if it means that their preferred ideology is adhered to. And they see people like us and they think that we don't deserve to achieve the American dream. We're too stupid or we're too ignorant or we're too low information voter. Okay, well, fuck them. I think that they deserve to get a taste of what real life is like. Their protections are over. Go. Get out of here. Learn to code. I don't care. Or get a job
exactly.
in the mainstream media. I don't know how much longer that's going to be a thing.
Well, yeah, that's before we get to that real fast. Thank you to Kathy K 2020 over on the Badlands Rumble dropping a $17 Rumble rant. I really love the show and such a treat to get to watch live today. Thank you, Adel and Zach, you two, and Frank. Yeah, Frank couldn't make it today, unfortunately. He's got maintenance and painting happening at his main studio. I think he canceled his 7 o'clock show as well. He says you two and Frank are a great team, or she says you two and Frank are a great team. So thank you so much, Kathy. I really
Thank you.
appreciate that. And yeah, please, guys over there on that Rumble channel, hit that thumbs up button for us if you haven't already done so. Yeah, Zach, you mentioned the mainstream media falling apart. I saw that. I think it was either MSNBC or CNN. One had ratings now lower than the Food Network. The other one just got passed by Cartoon Network. I can't remember which was which. And now I guess Rupert Murdoch lost a court case, so his like liberal kids are going to be taking over editorial decisions, which to me is like even more great news because
Yeah,
there's still I think a huge group of Republican or conservatives out there that are still kind of trapped in Fox News land. Uh,
agreed.
seeing, if that starts to betray them, they're going to be forced to kind of step outside that and maybe start exploring some of these other options, maybe hopefully online, and it's just going to further grow this grassroots independent media movement that we've been watching really take hold and expand the past couple of years. So very
Absolutely.
exciting. Yeah, I mean the whole media landscape thing is super exciting.
Yeah.
The pledge to destroy the censorship industrial complex, and I think the big network news channels are going to face serious scrutiny under Brendan Carr when it comes to their broadcast licenses. You're not gonna be able to edit your interviews anymore the way that they do, or completely misrepresent things, and continue to get away with that. I think there's going to be major changes on all fronts, and with that, I don't how does the Democrat Party survive, Zach, without the mainstream media and the censorship complex? Because it's not by talent or ideas. We know that.
I honestly don't know. I mean, and the money pipeline is getting shut down through Act Blue as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they were forced to admit that they didn't shut off foreign donations until September of this year. I mean, think about how many billions of dollars they've brought in over the last 20 years. I think it's like $16 billion or something like that. And if that money is not able to flow into the coffers of these politicians, that I don't know how they're going to compete because I mean, the average American certainly is not willing to fund their propaganda. I mean, we're not willing to fund them destroying our families and our schools and our neighborhoods. Even in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, majority black, majority Democrat, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they just elected a religious white Republican mayor for like the first time like ever. I mean, like since like maybe the 40s or something like that.
Wow.
And things are bad. They're bad enough that people are looking elsewhere and they know that they want something different. And maybe they're not, ready to admit that they're not Democrats, but I think that day is coming. I mean, they are completely out of touch with the average American. And, by and large, it's that federal bureaucracy that we're talking about that is sustaining them. And, they've got their pipeline of fraudulent voters, cloned voters through mail in balloting. If we're able to overhaul the election system when Donald Trump comes in, which I believe we're going to be able to do, then there's absolutely no way that the Democrat Party survives because they won't have anybody voting for them. Because the real people are going to be voting for the politicians and the party that's going to be supporting them. And we still have work to do in the Republican Party. There's a lot of knuckleheads in there as well. We got to get rid of them. And I think that that will happen as well. But, it's going to take time. I mean, I've said on a number of occasions that this is not going to be like a 4-year turnaround to a perfect America. I think it's going to be a lot better than it is. But I mean, the threshold is pretty low right now. I mean, the bar is just, inches off the ground as far as I'm concerned. So in order to truly transform the United States of America, I mean, we're looking at, a generation here probably. There's a lot of people who are totally brainwashed out there. You know, there may be more commies than there are like moderate Democrats. I mean, you look at the people out there that the Democrat Party was trying to attract, and it's all of the ultra left wing blue haired weirdos and the trans people and stuff. And, you know, I mean, like, I think trans people have every right to exist. I think gay people have every right to exist. And there's plenty of trans and gay people that are Republican now, okay, that are big Trump supporters. But the most radical people out there are not really Democrats, they're communists. Okay, and
Right.
they want to totally overthrow the United States of America. And a lot of them work in Washington, D.C. And you know, somebody was saying in the chat, I think Sheba something or other. He was saying, "I'm totally against the idea of severance." I think that there are going to be, you know, people that will need it, and it also makes it as an argument much easier for people to swallow, right? Rather than just kicking people out on their ass. So, you know, in terms of that, I understand why they're doing it. Personally, anybody who's a communist, I don't think they should get a severance. I don't think that they should ever be allowed to work in government again. And I don't think that communism should be allowed here in the United States. I think we need to go back to banning it 100%. Communists should not be allowed to run for office. Communists should not be allowed to hold office. They should not be allowed to hold position in government. And if you don't do that, well, then eventually that scourge of communism is going to raise its ugly head again. You know, we got soft on that stuff, and they infiltrated the government, and that's, you know, large part of the reason why we're in the problems that we are right now. So I think that we need to go hard on that, and if we do go hard on that, then, you know, that's a lot of people who are going to be taken off the chessboard, so to speak. But I don't think that the Democrat Party in its current incarnation can survive. They're going to have to completely revamp their platform and the way that they speak to people and the things that they push. And right now, I truly believe that the people who are making those decisions, those are the communists, and they're not willing to do that. So
They're
I'm
doing
going to
us a
let you know.
huge they're doing us a huge favor, Zach, the
Yeah.
communists right now, because they're allowing they're allowing the more like the moderate Democrats to open their eyes a bit and find. I've been talking about this for a few weeks. Like you seem to be like, we seem to be experiencing a major political alignment. I don't mean like people are becoming going from left to right necessarily, but when you look at how Donald Trump built this coalition, it's more so establishment versus anti-establishment.
Yeah.
And I find that to be really interesting because you look at like a lot of the main people coming in with Donald Trump, they're all Democrats. You look at
Yep.
a lot of these demographics that have shifted, you know, from left to right. I don't think they necessarily are becoming more conservative. I think they just look at the corrupt, mindless machine that is the Democrat Party and just can't identify with it. And it's so captured by the extreme communist left that it can't adjust itself to recapture those people. So they're essentially homeless, and many of them are finding their way into MAGA simply because they look at it as an answer to this homogeneously controlled machine that's
Hmm.
caused all these problems. So it's kind of interesting to see it, and I wonder if, you know, like we've always talked and dreamt about, you know, the destruction of the two-party system and, you know, what that could look like when you change that. Maybe this is the start of it, where you see it starts with the end of the Democrat Party because they've gone too far left. They lose the moderate side. Those people kind of join MAGA, who's also at ends with like the Mitch McConnells and that end. Like I wonder how much this might fracture over the next 4 years and what that landscape could look like, because I don't think the conservative versus liberal, Republican, Democrat paradigm is long for this world anymore. It seems like the one brand is dying and the other one, there's a line being drawn between the different types of Republican that we have right now. There's room for the first time I see like where you could maybe actually see a third or fourth, multiple parties spread across different ideologies, and it's more about becoming more about, you know, who you take your money from and how responsive you are to your actual voter versus anything else, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, the you know the generalized left right Democrat Republican paradigm, it isn't quite accurate, doesn't really fit in the modern world. I mean, it really is, patriots versus communists, deep state. I mean, the people who want to destroy America, the people who want America to thrive. And there is room within that for people to disagree on things. I think that's healthy. And I would love it if there were multiple parties out there beyond just what we have right now. You mentioned money in politics. I think that we should remove that as a factor altogether. And one of the ways that you make it more accessible for people to run for office is you give citizens the representation that they were meant to have. I mean, like the number of representatives in Congress was supposed to grow proportional to the population.
Hmm.
And they stopped doing that and they kind of capped it basically. And now they, gradually allow it to rise up based upon census numbers. But I think that you should have way more representatives. And I think that they should be representing a much smaller portion of the states. And if you do that, and then also force them to live in their district, not in Washington, D.C., and then they meet virtually via Zoom, also force them to actually show up to work, force them to show up to votes, very easy to do if they're dialing in virtually, and you take the money out of the politics, then you force those representatives to have a one-on-one personal relationship with the people that they're representing. You force them to also face the exact same adversity and issues that their constituents are going to be facing. Look at somebody like Adam Schiff. I mean, he represented people in California, but he was living in Maryland, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he had like a one-bedroom apartment that he simply kept just so that he could be on the ballot out there. But he was living in like the posh area of Maryland, probably the same place that Luigi Mangione was living with his parents, on their golf estate on the country club. But and then because they're representing this like large area and because they're not even actually living in their district, the only way that they reach their constituents is through like mail buys and TV ads and radio
Hmm.
ads, and then they got to take a private jet to fly across the country for these events. And I mean, if you have somebody that like lives and works in their district and you have an office that's open Monday through Friday, right? Give them a 5-day work week. Okay. And then have everybody Congress meet, say for a 2-hour period every day or whatever it is that they need to do. Then you can have like an office presence. You can have the connection to the people. You may have more representatives in Congress, but hell, we're going to get rid of a whole bunch of employees at the federal level. I mean, like these people don't need to be getting rich. They shouldn't be
Well,
running for office
it,
to get rich. They should be running for office because they want to serve their neighborhood. They want to serve their people. They want to serve their country. And that's just one of the things that I think we could do to take the money out of it is to reduce the amount of land mass and the number of people that they're actually representing.
yeah, and as far as these people getting rich and the money, like I feel like if you should make the whatever the average household income is in your district, that should be your salary. So you tie your own prosperity to theirs. Like these people like Maxine Waters, like total poverty pimps, say, she's in
Yeah.
charge of like Compton, she's living in a Beverly Hills mansion. That's absurd. So there's a lot of ways I feel like you could go about adding representation without it being a drain and really being to the benefit of the quality of representation that people get. Zach, I know you got to get going, man, because we're 4 minutes still the top of the hour. So go ahead, take a second and any final thoughts and plug your show and thank you for the hour as always, man. It's always fun.
Thank you for having me, as always. Also, thank you to a couple of people I saw out there. They said this is the first time they've seen the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have a great time hanging out with Adel and Frank when he's able to make it. And this is one of my favorite shows to do. Of course, I also have Baseless Conspiracies on Monday nights with John at 10:30, Altered State with Brad on Wednesdays at 9. And then I'm live on my own channel Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. For Red Pill News, and Fridays and Saturdays at 9. I interview people. I have a call-in show most of the time. And basically, my entire life is devoted to trying to bring news, information, and quality analysis to the American people so that we can destroy the communists and save the country. So thank you for having me, as always. Much love.
Much love, Zach. Have a great. Are you doing a show right now at 5?
Oh yeah, I'm about to go live. Yeah.
All right, yeah, guys. So go check him out. Red Pill 78 for his 5 o'clock broadcast. Zach, you're the man. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks, bud. We'll see you.
All right, there he goes. Zach Payne, one of the absolute best, a total pro, a great friend, and someone I'm always honored to share an hour of airtime with every Thursday right here on Badlands Media and 412 Productions for taking it back. Also, a big shout out to our brother Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show. Unfortunately, Frank couldn't make it today. But I think he had to cancel his 7 o'clock show tonight as well. He's got some maintenance and some work being done at his studio tonight, so he's taken the day off. But we love Frank, another absolute pro and a wonderful guy to be able to hang out with once a week. So big thank you to both of them. And those of you that would like to get to know me a little bit better, my name is Adel Nero. My channel is 412 Productions. You can find that on rumblepill.net, DLive, Cloud Hub, Odyssey. On Twitter, I'm at 412anon87. I would love to earn your follow over there. Talking to you guys over there on Badlands Media, because I'm only in front of y'all about once a week or so. So if you guys are on Twitter, again, at 412anon87, and love to have you guys stop by over on the Rumble or Pill channel as well, which is 412 Productions, 412 Productions. I go live from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and do a little show called Deplorable Discussions with some friends. So hope that you guys will come over and check that out. We do have a couple sponsors that I did not get to during the conversation. Didn't want to interrupt the flow. We were going to some fun places there. So we'll take care of these sponsors, and on the other side, we'll come back and officially shut down Taking It Back. I'm going to do some overtime, though, exclusively over on Pill.net at 412 Productions for those of you guys that want to keep hanging out for a bit longer. I'm going to do about another hour or so over there. But first, our first sponsor is Goldco. The last 4 years have put so much stress on the American family finances. Help end that stress now with President-elect Donald Trump and by investing in gold and silver. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans taking proactive steps to help protect and safeguard their savings with our partners at Goldco. Goldco has been established as a top-rated precious metals company and a leader in the gold industry, providing white glove treatment for over 10 years. Their buyback guarantee assures that if your situation changes, they'll repurchase your metals at the best price, providing you with peace of mind. You'll have the peace of mind that comes with knowing that your hard-earned assets are securely diversified. Find out the relationship between gold, silver, Trump, and you with the free report focused on Trump and your financial future. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free information and instantsilver.com/badlands to see how much free silver you can get. That's badlandsgold.com and instantsilver.com/badlands to take control of your financial destiny. All right, one more, guys, from My Pillow.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of My Pillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all My Pillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
All right, as always, big thank you to the sponsors of the show, and thank you guys out there for continuing to support them. If you're on Badlands Media, please hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Share the link. Appreciate that. Or come hang out. Like I said, I'm going to be live exclusively on pilled.net for about another hour. If you're not going anywhere or doing anything, I'll put that link in the chat for you all. Or just go to pilled.net and find me over there at 412 Productions. And I'll throw it over on my Rumble channel as well and over on D Live. So there you go. Again, really appreciate all of you hanging out for taking it back. It was a fun hour, and I look forward to doing it again next week, hopefully with the whole crew. But we will see. I know this time of year is tough, but that is going to do it for taking it back. I'll play the outro video here. Come back on the other side exclusively on Pilled, and we'll start with your gold pills over there and see where the rest of the afternoon takes us. So with that, for my good friend Zach Payne of redpill78news.com, shout out to Frankie Val of quitefrankly.tv. My name is Adam Nero, and this has been Taking It Back, a 412 production syndicated with our friends over at Badlands Media. See you guys in just a minute.